today I'm going to be sharing with you all the books that I have gathered in the last 3 months. I know I've said this before, I said it in my 2019 bookish goals video, that I'm trying to be much more deliberate about the books that I am buying this year, because I have a huge unread pile of books, and if you haven't seen my video where I detail all the books I have, I will link that in the description box down below. But yeah, I'm trying to slow my book buying down and just make better book buying choices. So these are the books that I have accumulated in the last 3 months. Some of them are secondhand, a couple of them I got on a recent trip to our local Waterstones, some of them were pre-orders, and there is a little pile of children's middle grade books which I picked up with a view to reading and then giving to my 2 children to read. So I will leave the middle grade ones to the end if you're interested. So yeah, let's just jump in and I will show you the books. Also, I have to say I'm really sorry if the lighting is off or if the sound is weird. It's really wet and stormy and windy here in the UK today, and as such the kids are a little bit cabin fevery and are downstairs baking, and I'm trying to film and the light is rubbish, and yeah, so I hope that you will bear with me on that account. So the first book I'm going to talk about is 4 Dead Queens by Astrid Schuldt. This was a pre-order, and I pre-ordered this after hearing someone else talk about it on their channel, and I still cannot remember who it was, so I will try and find that video and I'll leave a link to their channel in the description box. So basically this is a YA murder mystery fantasy book, and we're following our protagonist, 17-year-old Carolee, who is a very skilled thief, and she lives in this world where there are 4 queens, and each queen rules a quadrant of the world, and each quadrant has a different speciality or focus. And one day Carolee steals a package, and because of her theft finds herself embroiled in a conspiracy that sees all 4 of the region's queens dead, and to clear her name she must partner up with the person that she stole the package from to try and find out exactly what is going on. And I don't know much more about it than that. I've never read a fantasy murder mystery before. I think that it sounds like a really interesting blend of genres. I'm really curious to see how the story develops, where it goes. I love anything to do with heists or theft or anything like that. They are total buzzwords for me, so I'm really excited to pick this one up in the near future. Next up we have a book I picked up secondhand, and that is Frog Music by Emma Donoghue. This is historical fiction. It's set in 1876 in San Francisco and is based on a true unsolved crime. So we follow 3 former stars of a Parisian circus, and in 1876 at this time a smallpox epidemic has engulfed the city, so I would imagine that tensions and emotions are running quite high when we fall into this story. And basically a 4th mysterious person joins this trio, and at the end of it one of them ends up dead, and I don't know anything else about it. I think the fact that it's based on a real unsolved crime is completely fascinating. It's a part of history that I'm not massively familiar with. I'm always up for discovering more through historical fiction, so yeah, just one that I'm really looking forward to. It says on the front, highly charged, elegant murder mystery, so another one that I am looking forward to. Then we have a trilogy which I picked up secondhand on the same trip where I picked up Frog Music, and the books are not in great condition, but they are by one of my auto-buy go-to authors, Robert Goddard. He writes mystery thrillers set through all kinds of different decades in history, and I picked these up with a view to reading them when we go on our epic summer road trip, which is something I haven't talked about yet but I'm very excited about, and I will reveal more at a later point. But I wanted some easy, quick throwaway books almost, although I probably will try and hold on to them, that I could read. So these fit the bill perfectly. So as I said, they're a trilogy, which is quite unusual for Robert Goddard, but they are, the first one is The Ways of the World, and they're set in Paris in 1919. So it says on the back, with the fate of the world's nations hanging in the balance, a secret affair ends with the death of a senior British diplomat. And we're following an ex-RFC flying ace James Max Maxted as he is trying to discover what has actually happened. So yeah, the first one, as I said, is The Ways of the World. The second one is The Corners of the Globe, and the third and final one is The Ends of the Earth. And as I said, they're not in the best condition. They're a little bit worn and obviously have been read a fair few times, but I'm really looking forward to taking these. I think they will be the perfect books to take on our summer trips. So I picked them up, I picked all three up, and I'm really looking forward to reading these. Then we have The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. This is the second book in the Winter Night trilogy. I read The Bear and the Nightingale a couple of months ago and absolutely adored it. This is YA historical fantasy fiction. It takes place in medieval Russia and we're following a young girl, Vasha, and I'm going to tell you the basic premise of the first book because this book picks up where that one leaves off and I don't want to give in any spoilers. So the basic premise is that Vasha grows up on a remote Russian farmstead and she has always been able to communicate with spirits of Russian folklore, and the people in her community have always kind of left out offerings for these spirits, believing that they help the crops to grow and they help things to just go well in their lives. And Vasha has a new stepmother arrive who is very much connected with the church and who wants to push the community to focus on religion. So you have this battle between the old and the new. So you have the old spirits and the old gods, and then you have the new religion of the church, and they kind of clash together and Vasha ends up kind of caught in the middle, and it's just such a rich and gorgeous and just enthralling story. I'm just very excited to see where the story goes and I can't wait to pick this one up either. Next up we have Skin by Ilka Tampke, and this is a book set in Iron Age Britain, right at the point in history where the Roman Empire are gaining traction and are looking to invade Britain. And we follow the story of a young girl called, I want to say Alia, it's A-I-L-I-A, who basically is a bit of an outcast in her community. She has very little rights. She's not allowed to marry, she's not allowed to learn, she's not allowed to take part in any kind of ritual ceremonies, but she is going to find herself somehow central to the survival of her people. And I picked this up after seeing a recommendation on Instagram. I will link to Sarah's Instagram account down below. She really rated this book and I thought that it sounded really interesting. Again, it's a period of history that I've read a few books kind of set in that period, but not masses, and I just think it sounds brilliant. I really love anything with kind of Celtic overtones, and I think that this book ticks that box. So this is another one that I can't wait to pick up. I'm hoping to pick it up soon, but I do think it might be the first book in a series, and I'm really wary of starting any more series, but I just think it sounds so fascinating. I'm really intrigued, and I am interested to pick this up at some point in the near future. Okay, then the two books that we picked up in Waterstones. The first one is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. Basically, I was able to pick one and James was able to pick one because we were doing a buy one get one half price. We were actually buying books for the kids, but we both decided that we would pick a book. So this was the one that I chose. This is set in 18th century Cairo. It's YA historical fantasy fiction, and we follow the story of our protagonist Neri, who doesn't believe in magic because she utilizes tricks and sleights of hand as part of her everyday life, and she thinks that that is all that magic is. And then one day she is running a con and she somehow summons a warrior djinn and basically has to accept that magic might be real, and the story unfolds from there. I've seen lots of people talking about this book. I've seen lots of people giving high praise to this book. I'm really fascinated to read something in 18th century Cairo. I think it's going to have a different feel and a different tone to it, and I was just super thrilled to see it in paperback in Waterstones and decided to pick it up. Then the next book was James's choice, and that is King of Ashes by Raymond Feist, and this says The Firemane Saga Volume 1, and I'm not even going to attempt to try and summarise it. I will just read you what it says on the back. So it says, the royal family of Ithrace has been slaughtered. Now only 4 kingdoms remain in Garn, but they are on the brink of war. Their leaders terrified that the newborn Ithrasi heir may have survived and been smuggled away, destined to grow up with revenge in his heart. Declan is a gifted apprentice blacksmith, content in the learning of his craft, until slavers descend on his peaceful village, forcing him to flee, taking with him priceless knowledge of an ancient method for forging powerful weapons. On the secret island On the secret island realm of the Quelly Nascotti, 3 young friends are being schooled as assassins and spies. Dante, son of a senior master, Hava, a fierce, serious girl and a gifted fighter, and Hatu, a lad burdened with unexpected fury, whose hair is a bright and fiery shade of red. And yeah, that sounds complex, it sounds intriguing, it sounds like there might be a little bit of politics. We love anything with assassins and spies, and especially that kind of apprentice storyline, coming of age type book. It sounds very reminiscent to me of Robin Hobb's Farseer trilogy. So yeah, I'm really intrigued. James will probably read this first, but I will get to it at some point. But as I said, again, it's part of a series, so just starting series left, right and centre. I'm trying to be more deliberate and just finish some of the series that I've already started, but this sounds so fascinating. I've never come across anybody talking about it before, so yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what we think. Then we have another book that I pre-ordered, and I'm actually really disappointed by the size of this because I deliberately pre-ordered it and waited for the paperback, and the paperback has come and it's absolutely huge. So this is Paris Echo by Sebastian Faulks. This is a book set, as you might imagine, in Paris, and we follow 2 outsiders, 30-something American Hannah, who is there writing and researching for a paper on German occupation, and Moroccan runaway teenager Tariq, who is obsessed with his missing mother, or I think he doesn't know what happened to his mother perhaps, and somehow their 2 very different worlds collide and connect, and the story unfolds from there. And I have to say, for some reason I keep gathering Sebastian Faulks books, but I haven't ever actually read one, so I'm gonna have to sort that out because there's no point keeping on buying them if I don't connect with his style of writing. But the premise of his books seems to just really hook and intrigue me, and this was no different. I read it, I thought that it sounded really fascinating. I love anything with a backdrop in Paris because I just love the city of Paris. I think it's gorgeous. So yeah, just another one that I'm intrigued to get to at some point. Then we have Blue Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the 3rd book in the Raven cycle. I've already read books 1 and 2, and weirdly I got given book 4 for Christmas a couple of years ago, even though I didn't have any of the other books, so I just needed to pick up the 3rd one. So I haven't got any immediate plans to finish this quartet, but now that I have them all, I can. This is basically a YA paranormal romance. I obviously can't delve too much into the plot of this particular book because I don't want to spoil the first 2, but it's basically about a young girl called Blue who has grown up her whole life knowing that when she kisses her true love he will die. She falls in with a group of boys from a nearby private school who are on the hunt for a Welsh sleeping king, and that's all I'm going to say. These are just really fun quick reads. I'm really excited and interested to see how Maggie Stiefvater is going to kind of wrap up the whole storyline. There are characters of all kinds of different walks of life that I'm sure will appeal to all kinds of different people, and yeah, I just really like them for the fun easy reads that they are. Now, as I said, now that I have the 3rd and 4th books, I can finish this quartet at some point in the future. Then the final book I'm going to talk about before I move on to the middle grade books was the Bookish Mama's pick for February, and I still actually haven't read it even though we're nearly at the end of March, so you can slap me officially on the wrist for that, and that is Beatty by, I'm not going to try and say this author's name, I'm really sorry, I would only butcher it. Now, when I bought this book I didn't actually realise that it was so tiny. It's a science fiction book, and it says on the back, she left her home for the stars but found more adventure than she bargained for, a tense and intimate coming of age story in space. Now, as I said, I haven't picked this up yet, and the feedback from the rest of the readers in the Bookish Mamas group is that it's actually, despite its size, a really difficult book to get into, so I'm kind of hesitant about picking it up. I do need to pick it up because I want to engage in the conversation about it, but yeah, I'm really fascinated by how on earth this book could have such high acclaim when it's such a teeny tiny story. But we will see at some point in the very near future. I will get to this, I'll pick it up, I'll read it, it will be done. And finally, I'm just going to talk about the 6 children's books that I picked up. So as I said, I bought these with my kids in mind, with a view to me reading them and then passing them on to them. So I'm going to talk about these 6 really quickly. I'll just read you the back because the great thing about middle grade books is that the blurbs tend to be quite short and concise. So yeah, if this doesn't interest you, then thank you for watching. Please feel free to cross but if you're interested in middle grade books, then stick around. So the first one is Cog Hot by by Peter Bunzel, and this says, "Some secrets change the world in a heartbeat. Lily's life is in mortal peril. Her father is missing, and now silver-eyed men stalk her through the shadows. What could they want from her?" With her friends Robert, the clockmaker's son, and Malkin, her mechanical fox, Lily is plunged into a murky and menacing world. Too soon, Lily realises that those she holds dear may be the very ones to break her heart. Next up we have a book which wins all the prizes for having just the most beautiful cover, and that is The Way Past Winter by Kieran Milward Hargrave. I read The Girl of Ink and Stars by the same author a couple of years ago now, I think, and it was just a really beautiful middle grade book, so I'm very, very excited for this one. So this says, "Mila wakes to find her brother Oscar has vanished. He wouldn't just go, and yet a golden clue suggests he's followed a stranger who visited after dark. Then she learns that all the boys in the village have gone except one, the boy mage called Rune. Together, Mila and Rune set out to find them in an extraordinary journey across mountains overrun by wolves to the furthest frozen seas of the north." Now I said that about The Way Past Winter, but actually when you take the dust jacket off this next book, it also has a stunning, stunning cover. So the next one is Pages & Co. Tilly and the Book Wanderers by Anna James. This one just says on the back, "There's nothing like getting lost in a good book as long as you can find your way out." And I'm just going to take the dust jacket off to show you, because this is just so gorgeous, so sweet, and I'm really, really excited to read this and then be able to read it with the kids. So the inside of the dust jacket says, "Welcome to Pages & Co. Since her mother's disappearance, Tilly has found comfort in stories at Pages & Co, her grandparents' bookshop. But when her favourite characters, Anne of Green Gables and Alice from Wonderland, appear in the shop, Tilly's adventures become very real. Not only can she follow Anne and Alice into their thrilling worlds, she discovers she can book wander into any story she chooses. Tilly's new ability could even help her solve the mystery of what happened to her mother all those years ago, but danger may be lurking on the very next page." Then we have The Skylarks War by Hilary McKay, and this says on the back, "Clary and her older brother Peter live for their summers in Cornwall, staying with their grandparents and running free with their charismatic cousin Rupert. But normal life comes to an end as the shadow of a terrible war looms, and when Rupert goes off to fight at the front, Clary feels their Skylarks summers are finally slipping away from them. Can their family survive this fearful war?" I always loved as a kid World War fiction, and Meg very much follows in my footsteps in that regard, so this is one that I'm hoping that we're going to be able to read together, but because of the subject matter, I would like to read it first and just see how the author has chosen to do it. So this is one that I'm hoping to pick up soon, and then I'm hoping to be able to sit and read with Meg, so we'll see what I think when I get to it. Then we have The Silver Sword by Ian Seralia, which is a book that I mentioned in my recent favourite children's book video, which if you didn't see it, I will link that in the description box down below. This is a book that I read and read and read and reread and reread and reread as a child, and I lost my copy somewhere. So I was thrilled when I saw it and thought, I've got to have this copy, and I really, really love these versions. These are vintage classics, and I really love the way they've done these covers. So this one says on the back, "Having lost their parents in the chaos of war, Ruth, Edic and Bronia are left alone to fend for themselves and hide from the Nazis amid the rubble and ruins of their city. They meet a ragged orphan boy, Jan, who treasures a penknife, a silver sword, which was entrusted to him by an escaped prisoner of war. The three children realise that the escapee was their father, the silver sword a message that he is alive and searching for them. Together with Jan, they begin a dangerous journey across the battlefields of Europe to find their parents." So, yeah, very excited for this one. And then the final book for today is The Clockwork Crow by Catherine Fisher. This says on the back, "The Clockwork Crow was lying on its side. One of its small bright eyes was looking straight at her. When Seren Reese is given a newspaper parcel by a stranger late at night in a freezing Victorian train station, she has no idea what trouble it contains. She is heading for a new life in the remote country house of Plazifran, but when she gets there, the happy Christmas she hoped for turns out to be an illusion. Armed with a talking bird who might not be telling the truth, a magical snow globe, and her own indomitable courage, Seren sets off on a perilous midnight journey into an enchanted world of snow and stars." So again, it just sounds really intriguing and one that I am definitely looking forward to getting to. So there you go, they are the books that I have picked up recently. Do let me know if you've read any of the ones I've talked about today. I always love to know. Please think about subscribing if you aren't already. Don't forget to give me the thumbs up. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you all soon.